All right, so in the excitement around Starfield, and I've been playing the shit out of it, pretty much ignoring all social media, I actually missed completely that Skull and Bones has lost their third creative director on this project, and there is no release date in sight. What the hell is going on at Ubisoft Singapore? So this is initially reported by Kotaku. I'm not going to put the link to Kotaku because I don't respect them. I'm just going to look at the article here so you guys don't have to. Ubisoft's Open Seas Pirate Fantasy from Hell has lost its third creative director. Elizabeth Pellin, who began working with the Skull and Bones team back in 2018, left Ubisoft Singapore to return to the French publisher's Paris headquarters earlier this summer. The game's long-awaited closed beta recently received mixed reactions, and Kotaku now understands that Ubisoft Singapore faces an organized labor campaign by the country's creative media and publishing union. Now, shout out to About That Time 420 in the community. He originally hit me up. He's like, hey, I got access to the Skull and Bones beta, and I'm able to invite a couple people. Would love for you to jump in and try it. He went to log in, and he just didn't have access anymore. So the rollout for this closed beta that just recently happened was a little bit scuffed as well. So Elizabeth Pellin was there for 5 years, and she's just no longer there. 3 creative directors down, and the game is just nowhere in sight. On top of the fact that their closed beta just had mixed reactions, what is actually happening with Skull and Bones? All right, here's the response from Ubisoft. 5 years ago, Elizabeth Pellin went to Ubisoft Singapore with a mission to reboot the creative direction of Skull and Bones. She succeeded, and the Skull and Bones team is now fulfilling her vision to deliver a unique naval action RPG experience to our players. The publisher added that at this stage of the game's development, it's not uncommon for a creative director to move on to a new project or role, though 2 sources familiar with the situation who wish to remain anonymous because they were not authorized to speak about the business told Kotaku that Pellin's tenure at Ubisoft Singapore had been expected to last at least through the end of the year. Here's the thing. Find me a project where a creative director leaves before the game actually goes out and expects the team to fulfill that vision. Name me a project that has done that has come out good. Good luck. That would be like Neil Druckmann leaving Naughty Dog like 4 months before The Last of Us 1 came out. That would be like if Cory Barlog left like a year before God of War was rebooted. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it's fucking stupid. Ubisoft, yeah, you're definitely pulling the wool over our eyes. Yeah, no. Born out of an expansion for Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which, yeah, thank you, Kotaku, which, by the way, they're planning a fucking remake of Black Flag. So not only did Skull and Bones spawn from the original Black Flag, it was originally going to be a DLC, it was rebooted. They at one point made it like an MMO, that got canceled, and now they made this. I played Skull and Bones at E3, I want to say it was 2018 or 2019. I actually had a decent time playing it for like the 30 minutes that we actually got access to it, and then they just scrapped that. They just scrapped that version completely. So Skull and Bones has just been in development hell for a decade, and now they're planning to just remake the game that Skull and Bones spawned from. Skull and Bones was originally expected to ship in 2018. Subsequently delayed several times. It was effectively ready to come out in the fall of 2022, but was pulled at the last minute over ongoing concerns around polish and playtest feedback. Here's the thing, I'm all okay with delays to make sure the game is right, but this is just a whole other fucking animal. IGN was one of the few select media outlets who received access to the latest version of Skull and Bones for a hands-on preview, and its initial impressions were glowing. Not that I trust IGN that much, but I will say, like, looking at the gameplay on the IGN video, which you guys can see here, it actually looks... Don't allow notifications, get out of here. It actually doesn't look like that bad of a game. I'm not sure how in-depth the mechanics are or anything like that, but like here, clearly you can see like cinematic effort has been put into it, and it doesn't look that bad. But what the fuck is going on with it? How do we not have a release date or at least a release window set in stone here? This looks like it could be a feature complete release. And I gotta say, at the launch of a game like Sea of Thieves, I wasn't a fan. The more I played it, we'll let it cook over the years. Sea of Thieves has actually become one of my favorite like party, like co-op games that I play with my friends. And I've been waiting for something like a Skull and Bones to go into that pirate combat, sailing, and just go a little bit deeper. And I feel like Skull and Bones could be that. But every time it gets delayed or something catastrophic happens with the development, it makes me lose faith. Like, I had zero faith in this title before the creative director stepped down again. I can't imagine the team is feeling that fucking confident with the product right now. If I'm a creative director and I was at a studio for 5 years to reboot the vision and see it through, I do not leave. I can't even say a few months before release. There is no release date at all. You don't leave. There's no way Skull and Bones is coming out this year, which means it's probably set to come out next year, maybe. And if it is, that means the creative director left at least 6 months before launch, if not longer. That's not a good sign. The positive feedback received during the recent closed beta highlights the invaluable work Elizabeth and the entire team have done, a spokesperson for Ubisoft told Kotaku. Now through the game's launch, our focus is to offer the best possible experience to players by considering their feedback and further polishing the game. How do you, as a dev team, take player feedback into account when you're missing the captain of your fucking ship? How does that happen? So you get a bunch of feedback and now you as a team have to wade through and decide what the feedback, like what's valuable, what's not, what should we take into account, what do we not, and you don't have a leader. The creative director is instrumental in this portion of development where you're getting a ton of feedback from external sources and now you have to filter it out and see which direction you need to go with every piece of feedback. That's what your job is. And on top of that, now we're hearing the words of unions and workplace treatment, equality, and pay at the Ubisoft Singapore studio. Most recently, these appear to have culminated in a ballot exercise by the country's creative media and publishing union, who has been soliciting support from developers there via flyers at lunchtime. It's not clear how much support the CMPU has or which developers within the studio could potentially become represented by the group. The union drive follows a host of recent organizing efforts at game studios in the US. Some French Ubisoft employees called for a strike earlier this year over pay, and CEO Yves Guillemot appearing to shift blame for recent corporate missteps onto workers. Here's the thing, guys. It feels like at every step and every turn, Ubisoft is making dumb decisions as a company. But there are games that I actually want to talk about this week that I am excited for. Assassin's Creed Mirage is, from everything I'm reading, sounding really, really good. X-Defiant is looking like it's having a release date right around the corner, and I want to love that game because everything that team is doing is seemingly good. So I want to talk about these things, but at the same time, it's really hard to look at Ubisoft as a whole and be excited when we keep getting shit like this. Where's Beyond Good and Evil 2? What the hell is going on with Skull and Bones? At this point, I would say cancel the project, and I know a lot of you guys think they should too. But I also know that because they're working alongside the Singapore government, I'm pretty sure the Singapore government is funding portions of this development. I'm not sure why Ubisoft, a billion-dollar studio, needs government handouts to make games, but at the end of the day, they actually can't shut this project down. They have to produce it, and honestly, it's starting to feel like a little bit of like money laundering. Like, there's something at play here because there is no reason why a game like this should be in development hell for this long. What is actually happening behind closed doors at Ubisoft Singapore that you have 3 creative directors leave the project like this? I'm gonna extend the question out to you guys. What do you think is going on at Ubisoft Singapore, and why do you think that Skull and Bones is still not out after this many years? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, leave a like on the video, subscribe for more content just like this. Go check out my merch store, BigfryShop.com, at BigfryTV on all socials. Check me out, get connected, and I'll see you guys on the next one.